up. I don't know if everybody's able to see me or not. I'll try to connect everywhere, so we'll see if it's going to be or not. Okay, so let me know if you can see me. Let me please know. Good morning again, everyone. I am still trying to connect. Connecting to Instagram. Sergio, 11 degrees Celsius. Wow, that is it's cold for me. Okay. Okay, wonderful, Paul. Great. You can see me on YouTube. Brian, you can see me on YouTube. That is good. What about the Facebook? Facebook, did you connect to me yet or not? Let me see. Wow, that is it's cold for me. All right, looks like I am still connecting on the Facebook. But anyway, so let's start. Okay, today is a really interesting subject. Really interesting subject. At least that's for me interesting. The reason why is it interesting? The subject is about wood. Okay, it depends where you at, where you located. So some people, you're not supposed to use carving knives because carving knives, it's only for the chip carving. Okay, chip carving is geometry carving. Some people saying, let's say some of you actually in UK, and you know what I'm talking about. If you're using carving knife, you're not even considered as a wood carver. Okay, because in UK, you're pretty much using just gouges, veiners, V-tools, which is you don't call V-tool, it's a parting tool. So you just doing, but anyway, it's a still shape of V, letter V, and the chisels. Okay, although I still don't get it. Okay, I do teach in person in Florida, Florida School of Woodwork. And the lady who owns that school, she is from UK, Kate. Okay, great woodworker, so she knows what she does. But when we're talking about wood carving tools, she would say wood carving chisels. That is great to see you. So it's not correct because chisels are chisels, veiners are veiners, gouges are gouges, and so on. Okay, so you're not supposed to mix them together. They're not all carving chisels. Although in UK, commonly, people saying that's a carving chisel. Okay, I mean, referring to all of the carving tools. But today's subject is carving knife, how I use them. And by the way, if you do have any questions during it, if you can just post them in chat and I'll try to answer them. All right. Question about knives came from email. One of the people who watched me online, he emailed me and he actually asked me if I could share my experience and my approach to knives, carving knives. And I have lots of knives. I have a lot of different knives. And to be honest with you, wood carving knife is one of my most favorite tool. Okay, although what type of knife we're talking about? I mean, there's I don't know how many different designs. I don't know, 30 different shapes of wood carving knives. There's knives for whittling. There's knives for chip carving. But I don't like to do chip carving, and I don't whittle too much. I mean, I've done some, caricature carving, but I'm not doing it too much. I'm using a wood carving knife in traditional wood carving. Okay, and even in this, I did not use any knives yet. All right, I didn't use any knives yet, but I'll show it to you. But there's a reason why I didn't use any knives on this project, or particular project. I am trying to be authentic to original carvers, to original craftsmen people, artists, and in Italy, didn't use knives too much. Okay, so they did not. They use a lot. That's what they did, and what they used. But I'll show you today how I'm actually, working on a project like that. Okay, Jose, you are asking me about do I make my own knives? Yes and no. Okay, yes. If I would just go back many years ago, I made knives myself. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. Don't know. I know you can just probably Google would pop out. Okay. Making carving knives really expensive because they expensive tools. I mean, they made from specialty metal, and it all depends, of course, on designer and brand. They can be cheap. I mean, you can buy some cheap knives. I do have inexpensive. You can buy a set of 4 knives like this, and they're not going to cost much. It's going to cost you like $20 for 4 knives, I think. Okay, so that is not that expensive in all. Okay, some of them. And some knives, like right here, it's a lot more expensive. It's by File. It's a Swiss made, and this is my favorite knife. All right, so that is good knife. So that is why it's really expensive. But anyway, let's go back to. I'll talk a little bit about making knives, actually. Okay, why I was born in Soviet Union. That's big part of Earth. If you look at the map, which used to be a huge country. Nowadays, it's Russia, Soviet Union. It used to be like 15 republics. It's huge, like an empire. Okay, of course. I mean, USSR grew on Russian Empire land, and it wasn't the easiest time back then. And some of you probably know that I do have beliefs. I believe in some. I believe in the oldest book on the planet Earth, and I openly say that. And by the way, Woodcarver mentioned in that book, and just in case if you don't know what the book I mentioned, it's a Bible, and one of the wisest people, he was a woodcarver. It says God filled him with the spirit of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So when he was the main guy who was in charge of building tabernacle in the time of Moses in the Old Testament. But anyway, so in Russia, just because I was believing in something, it was illegal. I mean, I don't know. I still don't get it why, but I ended up in a jail. They put me in jail and something. But wood carving me to get through. So that was a hard time, but the wood carving actually helped me to get through those years in jail at first, then it was prison. And you guess, I mean, how can you carve without the tools in jail, all right? So I had to make my own tools. but I couldn't make gouges. I couldn't make, you know, veiners. I couldn't make any V tools without anything. But I had inside of the prison, and I made a carving knife. It was just a small knife. Pretty much the blade was much shorter. Okay, it was probably no more. The blade was no more than about 10, maybe 12, you know, millimeters, less than half an inch blade. But I was able with the knife inside of the prison, and I was able to make some really interesting furniture, actually. So I was doing some furniture, and you know, officials or administration would sell it mostly to people who ruled, and they would make money, and I would get my 1 potato a day. Okay, so that was my diet. But yes, to answer your question, do I make knives? I don't make knives right now. I don't have time to make knives or, you know, wood carving tools per se, like gouges and so on. I don't. Okay, I don't really need it. But anyway, but the knife itself was my first tool. Okay, so the knife itself was my first tool. Well, I shouldn't say my first tool. Knife was actually the second tool. The first tool what I had, it was a pencil. It was just a pencil and a piece of paper. My teacher, he gave me a piece of paper when I was apprentice, and he's a master carver. And he gave me a piece of paper and a pencil, and he said, carve. Design for carving, and you have to design for a knife. All right, and yes, I mean, I'm able to draw, I'm able to design something beautiful, and if you're part of my school, you know that I'm actually designing and drawing, and one of the courses, it's actually I'm taking step by step, like a design for furniture carving and so on. Let me read some of the comments while you're looking at the Venetian project. All right. Oh, Nicole, thank you very much that you love my work and want to continue learning from me. I really appreciate. And Paul, ordered the file knife for the birthday. That is great. So birthdays are coming up, I guess. So happy birthday, Paul. That is good. That is good. And Ben is saying Red Army was tough. Well, I wasn't in Red Army. I refused to go to the Red Army. And I believe, Ben, I communicated with you on by email about that stuff. Okay. And I mean, it makes sense, you know, it makes sense. I mean, knives are expensive. You can't buy, you know, one knife could cost you $40, and that's really expensive. You have to make your own knives. I mean, there's the wood carvers in all around the world, not only in India. I mean, there's China, there's Russia, there's Vietnam, there's I mean, and the wood carvers still make their own tools. And that's not that complicated process, by the way, and all. But for me, why I don't do any tools anymore, because it takes so long, and I have to do my production work. I'm carving for a living, okay? So if I'm making my tools, so I either spend my time making tools or I gonna carve, all right? Let me see some other comment. Ben is saying you will make carving tools like Ashley Isles someday. Oh yes, absolutely. Or Henley Taylor. So once they gonna retire, I guess. So I'll pick it up. That is good. But anyway, let me show how I'm using a knife. Okay, so the knife. By the way, if you go to my school, I do have a project for the beginner. All right, and this project is right here. Okay, so that is a beginner's project. So what I'm talking about, this project is done only by knife. Okay, so there's no other tools except just the border, pretty much on the outside. Okay, so on outside border, it's done with the gouge. It was just introduction, and this course is one of the most downloaded from my School of Wood Carving. Okay, so which is the schoolofwoodcarving.com, of course. Just in case if you don't know that, it is schoolofwoodcarving.com. If you're not part, I would really appreciate if you would become a part. But this project is done only by using knife. Okay. Another project also at school, it's acroterian. Okay. So this project is a acroterian. It's a really ancient. The biggest part of this project done by knife. So my point is, the knife could be used for complicated stuff, and it can be used for less complicated stuff. Okay, even on a project. Okay, so even like a project like that. Let me show you something else. I was teaching in Mark Adams School of Wood Carving last year, and just one of the projects with it was just a weekend class, and it was just a one knife project. Okay, so we did not finish, and this is not finished, but stuff like this could be done with just one knife. Don't pay attention to that brown corner. That is actually just staining. I was teaching how I make my own stains from all natural sources, and it's also online. When you look at this project, it's also going to be there. I covered that project with the natural stain, food safe, and so on. It's also online on my school. Okay, but some of you already members, and you know that. Okay, now but anyway, so this carving, it's not geometrical carving, and like I said, it's used just one knife, and you can do a lot of stuff with just one knife. Okay, let me tell you a story actually about myself, little bit. Okay, so a few years ago, quite a few years ago, it's over 20 years ago, I believe, like maybe more, like maybe 23, 24 years ago. I had a client, and he wanted to do a wood carving, but it's not just a wood carving. He wanted to do coffered ceiling, just to go all the way to the ceiling, and the side's supposed to be hand carved. But the only problem I had like a till deadline. And if you're in the United States, so you know that in 1 month, if you're doing a traditional carving, it's almost impossible to cover, with all the canvases and stuff like this, those sides. And I designed a carving for just one knife. Okay, yeah, it took me 1 month, and I made it right on time. But the thing is, he still paid me if he would pay me for just the traditional. So I made good amount of money, just in 1 month. And it's possible actually in business with just pretty much with one knife. All right, so let me read some comments, and maybe there's a question, and I'll show you. And, she broke the number 12 knife. This is actually the number 12 knife, by the way. That is the number 12 knife. But take a look at this knife, all right? And look at this one and compare, all right? See the blade, one is short and one is long. You know what happened with this one? I broke that one, and I just really use it. This is a longer version, and that is a shorter. And I grab my shorter version a lot more often than a longer one. So it actually, Nicole, the good thing that you broke. Jose is saying about the natural stain. Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. you know, the natural stain is if you look at this board, what I showed before in this section right here, whereas the stain shows, you know, that is made from walnut. And if you want to learn, hey, go ahead and do that on my site. All right. So nothing wrong with that. Okay, let me read a little more. What is going on right there? Okay, how do I find wood carving clients? Mike is asking. That is a wonderful. I actually, all right. I'm not finding them. They find me. And at this stage of my career, I actually refuse a lot. Refuse clients. I'm not taking every project. There's a couple what I determine to take a client or not. And you can see on my online school, some projects are really small, some projects are huge, okay? And normally my projects for life, when I'm doing production, they are huge, they're big, okay? And some of my clients, I can't even say the names because I signed the, you know, form, and I'm not gonna tell you, but my clients, you know, from all over the world, and they famous people pretty much, either in business or government and so on. Okay, so I'm taking those projects, and if it's a small project you see online, you know, I just trying to figure out if it's going to be a good fit for my school or not. Okay, for I can teach something, you know, I do have like small rosettes in school. It's a small rosette, doesn't take too long for me, but it's also really interesting. Who wants to learn how to carve, you know, a couple of rosettes. I've got one ancient style rosette and one more contemporary, I mean, modern or traditional modern, I should say. Okay, so but for the clients for job like this, I apologize. For job like that, I don't look for them, okay? All right. Now let me read. Jeff is asking where to get your best. Okay, no, it's not. I'm in Florida, okay? I'm in Florida. And in Florida, you really can't find any basswood. Besides, I'm really picky about the basswood. Okay, basswood, limewood, lindenwood, lipa. It's the same pretty much wood. No, I order from a big lumber yard, and I already did actually at one of the LiveStreams where I buy and how you can basswood. Okay, if you need just a small amount, just go on a woodcraft.com and you can find some basswood supply, or Amazon.com. You can find some planks of basswood. The problem is in Australia and New Zealand. I do have some students from Australia and New Zealand. You can't get basswood. They actually have to go to European stores and just a ship. But gelaton, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it's another wood for wood carving. Okay, Paul is asking something. Let me see. Let me see. So you are carving some signs. Oh, by the way, Paul, it's coming up also in my school. Okay, I'm gonna do some lettering. Okay, some different signs how you can do for your house, for inside and outside, so we can do that. All right, but anyway, let me show you some of the ways I use my knife. All right, so on this project, particular project, okay, trying to use it because, like I said, I want to be authentic, but you can do a lot. You can do actually a lot with just the knife. All right. So, for example, see this line right here. So, for me, kind of gouge or veiner and create the relief cut, on those sides, or I can just use a knife, and it's already giving me wall that I'm after. So I'm actually doing a 90 degrees down, but what happens, I already created the boundary. So that is just really great for the outlining any of, whatever the detail you want to do. Other way, what I'm using knife in a carving like that, I mean, see, I can actually get that surface, all right? So just by using knife, just like that, holding like this, and I can just get rid of all the tool marks. So it's a lots of uses. Now, I mentioned that my teacher, when he was teaching me wood carving, the first tool he gave me, it was actually a knife. Okay, just a knife. Well, after, and I had to practice with the knife with the really complicated forms before I started to use gouges. He would say I have to actually master my knife techniques before I do anything else. But for the undercutting, see this sticking out? I'm not sure if I'll be able to show you a little closer. See this part? It's not that still rough, but even for stuff like this, I'm still going to be able to use a knife and create, just undercut it. Okay, so and I can do that with no problem. All right, so knife is actually useful, really useful tool. So with just the one knife, pretty much you are able to do a lot of stuff. Not only like I said, geometrical or chip carving, but even a traditional. I mean, you can just use a knife even on a complicated forms like that. See, I can actually do even concaves if I need to, and convexes. See, right now I'm just creating a concave, and that concave gonna be just in this section. And yes, I mean, I can go in and get rid of whatever the mess I just created. And it gives me really clean cut. And like I said, I mean, of course, you can just undercut everything with the knife. The only thing is, while a project, I don't want to see really sharp transition on inside, because at the original work in Italy, in Venice particularly, so it's going to be like a gouge cut, or roots more authentic, I would say, on inside. It's a more smooth transition on inside, like like this almost. Okay, use a knife on this project, but I mean, like I said, you can get really complicated stuff with the knives. Really complicated stuff. Like I said, even on a 3-dimensional Z carving, even on a sculpture, you're still able to use a knife. This person who emailed, do I use knives like that, whittling knives in my carving? Yes, I absolutely do. Let me read some comments. Okay, one of the questions: which tool are good for clean out? So I don't know exactly what you mean, but let me show how maybe okay. So right now, this is a rough stage, let's say, and it's not really clean. But let's say if I'm gonna attack just this section, okay, I need to pronounce this S curve, like letter S curve. So I would just use a knife from like underneath and go like this to the edge. And I create really sharp and a crisp edge. So I still kept my this detail, but the difference right now, you see only crisp edge, but you don't see that. That's a really great technique. So I hope I understood you. If I did or not, but that's what I call outside. That is out, and like I said, lots of different uses. Okay, Roberto, thank you very much. Let me see. What you just said. There is a lot to be said about carving knives and their use for relief carving and grilling gibbons. Oh yes, absolutely, for 3D. And I showed on the previous streams some of my work, like for example this work. Some of the stuff on this work was done by knife. Some of the work on this one also done by knife. And again, this project is only knife project, except just the outside border. Ouch. It was just the introduction to the beginners. Okay. Right. But anyway, let me go back to carving with the knife. And if you do have any questions, it's time to ask. I'm not going to do a really long stream today. By the way, if you like those streams, in a chat, that will encourage me to do them. Okay. See, even on a really complicated undercarving, what I'm using when I'm using knife, I'm not just pushing because I'm carving actually against the grain. I'm actually slicing like a slicing piece of bread. I mean, see those chips? I just cut them pretty much with the knife. Result with just a knife, even on a 3D, right? Of course. I mean, there's a limit you have to understand. But if you want to learn a work with the knife, I mean, knife is art. I mean, you can do great things. A couple simple probably cuts I can show today. If you wish to see them, let me know. If you want to see a couple of beginners cuts or beginners practice cuts, let me know and I'll show it to you right now. Okay, let me see. What are the top 3 knives and a brand you recommend having for the beginner set? Nicole, great question. Okay. And I'm sorry if I'm missing some of the questions. And there's another question. I understand that gouges, chisels, knives are to be used together depending on the project. Please correct me. You are correct. You are, and again, I say about this. It depends on the client. If you're doing for yourself, I mean, you can use whatever tools you wish. I mean, it doesn't really matter. For example, this project I'm working right now, I cannot use V tools or knife. Okay, the reason why, because I really want to be authentic 15th and 16th century. My goal is when really knowledgeable people would look at it and they would just don't find any ideas that piece wasn't done in century. It's not forgery, don't get me wrong. So it's known fact that it's done in 21st century by me, but the techniques I have to keep authentic. But if you're doing for yourself, obviously knives, and you can do V tools, you can use gouges, I mean, in combination. That is a good idea. And Roberto saying he's using knives pretty much more and more. Okay, Jose says, please, beginner's cut. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, let me, this board, and I'll show you. Okay, maybe just on this one. Okay, let me show that. Don't pay attention. This board is dirty. I just tried the different, finishes. Which is actually, this finish is authentic finish. It's a chalk paint. But anyway, let's practice with the knife. All right. So what you can practice with the knife. Let's say if you wanna do like a letter. Just, let me do just the letter A. Okay, that would be just the letter A. All right. Do you see that the right way, or you see that the wrong way? I'm not sure if it's needs to be. Is it looking like letter A, or it's looking just? But anyway, so you get the point. Okay, so that is a letter. Okay, just a sign. So it actually takes a couple cuts. You just place your knife like 90 degrees, then turn to the one of the sides and create your first cut. And create your first cut right, on a line. And I'm using number 12. That is to answer your question, which prefer 12 file. Okay, continue on this side. Oh, by the way, never place your hand at the front of your knife, because you can slip and cut yourself really, 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 really badly. Okay. Sergey, thank you very much, because I don't know if my camera, just turns or not. Okay. But see what I'm doing? I'm actually creating a really, really, the bevel. Here would be 90 degrees. Oh, I apologize if you can't see that. And I'm just creating this. Okay. See what happens? It just, the cheap carving, it is not, but it's almost like a cheap carving. Again, I'm not gonna rotate my piece, and I'm gonna create again that until I middle point where I have to meet. And if it's too deep, like in case like this, I can probably just relieve with making cut like that. And get much deeper. Just make sure you keep the bevel at the same position. I mean, I'm talking about the bevel right here. Okay, like that. And I'm doing a look at my hand. I'm actually, just trying to use muscles of my hand. By the way, I forgot to check a live, a stream on Instagram if there's even people on Instagram. Yes, they see me. Apologize. Nastya is saying "как красиво" in Russian. Thank you very much, Nastya. I apologize that I didn't read the the questions you had, but anyway, so better just to go on. So I completely missed Instagram chat, but see what I'm doing? I'm carefully just approaching. The meeting point. And we're going to do, that is probably, I shouldn't say that, the secret, not the secret, but we're gonna do a sign as a beginner's project on my school site. Really old English handwriting style. Okay, calligraphic English style. It would look beautiful. But see what I'm doing? I'm just a rotating piece, and now it's just all about cleaning, just like that. And I create blow that. Okay, so that is a cut number 1, and push a little bit that middle line, for you can see a lot. See how nicely it casts shadow? Beautiful. Hold on, let me read. There's a long someone posted a long it's a question or answer or something in a language I don't understand on a Facebook. But anyway, see what I'm doing? So that is the second cut, second part of this letter. Actually, you know what? Go all. Again, I'm not forcing it. Is that even interesting for you? People, give me a thumbs up or something, you know, for I would know that, okay? Richard, good morning to you too. Good morning to you too. But see, it gives me really clean and beautiful finish, right? Although I'm actually lit, but you can take it to the perfect from cut number 1. Pretty much. You could take it to the perfection. And yes, there's going to be another cut right here. And that is a letter A in a script. Script, I don't know, that is not really English. I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna do for the beginners class really soon the project like a sign in an old English script, like a welcome sign or something. But you can do any Bible verse or anything with that. But see, so it's just let me show you closer to my face. See how nice it looks right here. Okay, see, it's a letter A. And you can just continue and carve. And actually, you know what? Let me tell you something else. I made some of the projects for the clients just carving with one knife the names of the children, like for the mantle. One family, when I started to do that, they asked me, and they have like 5 children, and they asked me, could I carve when they had like 3 children, carve the names of the 3 first ones, and then they got more, and I had to carve more and so on. But that's a beautiful thing. You can just do stuff for your house just by having one knife. By the way, there's a question came up. Some people afraid to start carving hobby because they don't have a space. Okay, if you just want to use one knife, like for projects like this, you know, which is upside down like that, you know, all you need is the table, dining table, kitchen table. That's how I've done some of the projects, just on a kitchen table, and pretty much just one knife. Okay, let me read the some of the comments. Okay, Roberto is asking about using and so on with the knife work. With the knife work, absolutely no. Okay, so what you are saying, I'll tell you that, and I feel still feel guilty. You're talking about those tools. I just got them this year. Okay, I stayed away from those tools for many years of my life because I feel guilty, because it's like not authentic to the wood carving world. I thought, okay, that my teacher would teach me, but you know, those tools actually still don't use them a lot. Okay, I still don't use them. I cut clean. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. But on a knife work, I never use them. Okay, I never use. Even if you look at this same board I just cut. Okay, just the cut. Those walls, those bevels, they really clean. Okay, and if you look at this project, you know, and there's some people from my school right now in the chat, and they know it's just a knife, no sandpaper, no nothing. It's just pretty much only one knife. Okay, only one knife. Now, wonderful people, I would love to ask you, if you do have a question, ask me now. Ask me now, and we're gonna finish this particular live stream. And if you want me to discuss something else, you know, that I'll try to ask me ahead of a time, and I really appreciate if you know, like some people emailing me. Oh, by the way, the question about how do I sharpen them? Okay, how do I sharpen them? Hold on just a second. Let me check. Let me check chat on Instagram. Some saying a knife is my thing. Knife is a wonderful thing. How do you sharpen your knives? Okay, so that is another question. And you don't see all the questions right here because some of the questions I'm pulling from different platforms. I'm streaming on like 13 different platforms. And the question about the sharpening a knife. It's the easiest of the a lot of people think how to sharpen those knives. You can use I mean, absolutely, you can use Work Sharp 3000 to sharpen the knife, or you can just do by hand. Okay, if you're doing by hand, just use a stone if you do have a stone. So if you do have a stone, and the way you do that, you know, you pretty much, like my teacher taught me, you place your tool like this. I mean, right now it's on the right hand side of my stone, and this is 1000 grit, but other side is a 400. And you do it on a pull, okay? Pull, and you just, it depends on the knife, you kind of have to create arc like this, okay? 1, 2, 3, and feel a bevel, okay? So you have to find the bevel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10. And if you would ask me why I'm counting knife like this, so it was like that, I'm gonna flip it, and now left hand side of my stone, and it's exactly the same. I can actually hold even 2 fingers and find that bevel, and I did the 10 strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it is sharp now. I mean, it's not enough. Okay, so usually after that you need to strop. I'm using which is a Work Sharp 3000, but even by hand, I mean, just the hand stropping, you know, like this. You know, this one in this case, it's a Boots. It's a brand, and you just strop with the paste on the leather. If you don't have that, you really don't have to buy expensive stropper. You could use pretty much. Let me show you. Just a piece of leather, normal piece of leather. Just to go to the leather shop and get the leather and just to strop it with the paste. Green paste, which you can craft, store, and so on, and strop it either on this side, or you can just do on that side also. That's going to give you exactly the same result. Now, if you don't have stropper, and if you don't have stone, what do? Okay, if you don't have a stone, you can't afford. And I do understand some people in a different countries, like in India, let's say, it's expensive. Okay, it's expensive. People don't make too much money around the world. So what you just use a sandpaper. Okay, sandpaper you can find really cheaply in almost every country. But the idea is the same. In this case, it's 1500, although, it doesn't have to be 1500, but the same idea. You just go and count how many times you do that, and go opposite direction. And of course, I'm doing right now fast. That is a normal pace, how I would do that. But count, and it's always on pull. Okay, so that is always on pull. So that's how you sharpen it. Of course, you have a stropper, but you're still able to buy different sandpapers. This one is a 3000 grit sandpaper. You can just do after 1000, 1500, and just to do, it's going to give me about the same result as a leather. Okay, so that way I don't paste. Although I love paste, diamond paste, green paste, blue paste by Koch, German brand, but it doesn't have to be that way. Okay, I didn't have any paste when I was locked, down. Paper pretty much, and a small blade I had to make, and sharpen it. That another technique. Another technique, what you could do, I did on a pull. If I just do that really, really slow, okay. Asking me if I can show you the close up of do that trim, and I can't touch my. It's a multi-camera. So I apologize, but that. Just like that, okay? But another technique, movement like this. Movement like that. Oh, by the way, let me show you, that knife is just one knife. I've got a knife from Ukraine. It's a wonderful knife. Wonderful knife. It's a beavercraft knife, okay, just like that. Maybe I'm actually able to show you close up. Hold on just a second. Maybe I'll do. Maybe I'll able to. Is that better? Okay, so that is the bevel actually, how it's coming from the manufacturer. Okay, it's reflecting. See, that is the bevel right there. For me, it looks nice, but it to be that. Okay, on my, I have to find a knife. I try to eliminate those bevels. By the way, I try to eliminate those bevels. Okay. And this knife, you can see, I actually took away, I still have to buff it. I took away that bevel right there. So I took away the bevel because I'm digging sometimes really, really deep. Okay. And that bevel is spreading fibers apart. And that's not the best thing. So I don't want to see pronounced bevel. I'm actually rounding that bevel. Okay, and that doesn't really matter. It's all about what is most. See that bevel just for look, or if you really worry about if you really worry about okay. Okay, someone is saying, Linda is saying, sharpening is very difficult. It's not. Okay, I'm not agree with you. Although it is, Linda, it is a really important subject, how you sharpen your tools. Okay, I have to agree with you. I mean, you can have a talent, you able to design something and even carve. And the biggest frustration, what I saw, it's a sharpening. I mean, I shouldn't say it. It's easy. It's not. It's easy when you know what you do. Okay, then it is easy, but not as difficult. But it's probably one of the three main things in a wood carving you have to learn. Number one, you have to train your brain in three-dimensional world, and that's a design process. Okay, how you design it. It's really important to learn, which I think everyone able to do that. Okay, so if they know some of the rules and some laws of the design, and it's easy. The second, of course, sharpening. A lot of people, when they buy wood carving tools, they carve for a month, and then tool becomes dull, and they got really frustrated. They blame wood. The wood is bad, and they not good. They blame themselves. But it's important skill to learn. That's why actually one of the first lessons in my school, I started the way I sharpen. Okay, and the third, of course, just how you carve, the angles, the movements, your hands on a tool, and so on. So that is why I actually started my school, to show you, how I do and why I do. Okay, so that is not as difficult. Let me read some more questions and answers. Roberto is saying it took several years to shoot just the knife correctly. Okay. Now, is best removed. I have some gouges where I have removed the bevel altogether. I do that, okay? I do that too. Some of my gouges, I don't have a bevel in all. Okay. Oh, by the way, now, Roy, okay, saying the workshop, okay, this machine doesn't have any longer the toolbar attachment, okay, the toolbar attachment. So what you're referring is to this one, okay, to this attachment. Yes, that is a really, really bad thing that they don't have it anymore. But it's not the end of the world, okay? Even if they don't have it, so you're still able to use a work sharp, okay? The way you do that, on a Tormac side, you can attachment, grinder attachment. And by the way, if you're part of my school, and sometimes some of you missing some of my videos, in the sharpening section, I added like a couple years ago when they discontinued on a Work Sharp 3000. They don't produce them. Solution carving that for school. I mean, why not? I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, you will be. By the way, I mentioned before that I have like 1,500. I found out that's almost videos actually what I have right now on the school side. Okay, if you sign for my free sharpening lessons on the lesson number 4, you will see how I use a Tormac. It's a grinder attachment, and you can use that on a Work Sharp, and you can use on any other machines. Okay, and I hope. The bevel depends on the wood you're carving also. Roberto is saying, I've seen one of your videos on this. Well, I mean, imagine you just saw one of the videos, but I do have a lot more videos on this subject. And people, it is time right now to probably finish today's stream. And if you have a last question, I would read something about on the next stream. So I will try to be streaming tomorrow. So I'll see or not. But I'll try to be on tomorrow. So if you do have a question, it's time to ask me. Okay, if you want to listen something more about so on. All right. Let me see. All right. Anyway, to write like this stream, just give me thumbs up again, okay? Because I don't want to bore anybody. And if you want me to continue those live streams, I need encouragement. Okay, I can actually create with the tool even complicated shapes with no problem. Concaves and convexes. For example, I need to create convex, and let's say I don't have couch, but I still need to create the convex in this area. Let me pull that little closer to you, and I create that convex. Okay, see? It would be exactly the same as just gouge. Actually exaggerate and get even more pronounced convex closer to the end. I'm not sure if you're able to see that or not. Let me know if you see that. Okay, let me know if you see that. See, so that is a convex, and like I would use just a gouge to do that, I'm able to use just a knife. And of course, concave was easy, and now convex. I apologize that I maybe just said that. Okay, so and there's going to be another convex. So if you just wonder if it's possible or not to do complicated stuff with the knife, oh yes, absolutely. A degree, of course. Okay, so there's some limitations still. There's still going to be some limitations, but see, so you're still able to do. But what I was trying to explain, let's do another concave. I can do another concave, and yes, I can use either on a pool like that. I'm placing my hand like this, and using my and do like whittling, pretty much. One side, and on a push another side. And yes, I mean I can clean it. Such, I mean the idea is you can do really complicated stuff. Imagination is only the limitation. And yes, if I would spend a little longer, it would look much cleaner. From different, pretty much shaving, but the knife has to be really sharp. Okay, knife has to be really, really sharp. Okay, let me show you an overall picture. And see, that is a concave, and there's a concave, and there's a convex. There's a convex, okay? Okay, let me see what people in chat saying. Sto is asking, hey Alex, a question. The wood you are using, it is from which bark? That is a good question. When I buy wood, if you know the difference about reefed cut and just the straight slicing, or quarter sawn. So I look at the edge. It's never going to be close to the heart, if you wish. Okay, it would be closer to the bark side. But if it's a straight cut, it's also dangerous. It's going to cop. My preference when I look at the cut, I look for a quarter sawn or reefed cut. Let me explain what I mean by that. Okay, let me pull the computer and I can explain to you. Okay, there's a difference. Let's say if there's a board. Okay, there's a board. I'm talking about if you look like that, there's going to be a board. Okay, and if it's a straight cut, you're going to see a rings like this. It's a straight slicing, okay, of the board. I try not to bite because it's gonna move a lot. There's a quarter sawn, a reef cut. Sometimes they look almost the same, reef cut and quarter sawn. But anyway, you look at the rings and they're gonna look like that. All right. So those two boards I would definitely buy. The difference why that cut is just like that. There's a different slicing techniques when they look at the log. Let's say my apologies. You got the log, okay? There's your log, okay? And there's rings. And there's your heart of the log, okay? Straight slicing would be when they would just slice like this, okay? And you will see really pronounced rings like that. Slice it like this and just the parts of it, then your ring is going to be more like that, okay? Quarter sawn and a reef cut, of course. Okay. Sometimes they slice like this, and all of the rings look that way. Okay. Or there's another slicing like that. They just a quarter sawn, like they're using quarters. Okay. They cut the log like that, go like that, or some of the cuts they do like this. It all depends on the supplier of wood. Okay, hope it makes sense. I'm not a log cutter, but I'm looking at the rings. Okay, I'm looking at the rings. So you guys, sap wood. I'm not sure. Let me read. There's a lot actually. There's a lot of people. Roberto is hating carving oak. That is good. You hate well, I shouldn't say it's good. Oak is beautiful wood. And as far as the sap, what Ben is saying, sap. And Nicole is saying, what other wood would you basswood? I mean, the best is of course basswood. If you want to, especially if you want to start carving, the basswood is always the best. Okay. I would not recommend to use poplar. I wouldn't recommend to use maple. They both carvable. I mean, you can use almost any wood pretty much, but it's going to be difficult. Walnut is good. Butternut is good, but it's also going to be little, actually really excellent. Okay. So, but the best wood is the best. Roberto, I understand that you hate oak. It depends on the oak, by the way. If it's a white oak, I don't like it too. But if it's an English brown oak, it just carves beautifully. It's really nice. Okay. So it's beautiful and nice. Okay, wonderful people. It's time to finish right now. Thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate all of the conversations happened today. I really do. Please, if you're watching me on YouTube, don't forget to like it. It's really important. That way, it's going to help me also, you know, just to rise up in Google ranking. Subscribe and hit that bell notification. Make sure you just get all the notifications. That way, you're not going to miss my live streams. Okay. If you are on, let's say, also, of course, and you can share it also from YouTube platform. Just to share it anywhere else, I would really appreciate that also, and that would be wonderful. Also, I want to invite you again to my school. You know, just to check it out. If you're not part of my school, you know, just to check that out. Here's a link. So it's schoolofwoodcarving.com. Like I said, I checked yesterday. I've got over 2,000 videos. Well, actually not over. It's going to be over 2,000 really soon, probably this month. Okay. So over 1,500, but it's going to be like over 2,000 this month. Okay. So lots of material, because I'm not planning to do all of my work in a live stream on YouTube, but I am planning. I'm doing actually a woodcarving school, and that has a great success. Many people from all over the world actually join my school, from all over the world. Okay, so please, you can after I finish my streaming, you can comment underneath of the video questions, and if you want to hear that little more in the next live stream, and like I said, maybe I'll try to be tomorrow streaming also about the same time, about my time. It's at 12 p.m. in the New York time, so that would be my time. So just try to figure out what is going to be the best time for you. And I'm basing my streaming on a poll. I do have a poll on so what is the best time to stream. If you think you want to, if you know a little better, everybody's, I really do appreciate, you know, all of the you know, people. Okay, that you know, what are the night bot, I have to discontinue. I really appreciate, Roberto, that you actually writing. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Okay, God bless you too. Stay safe, please. Stay safe. Thank you, people from everywhere else.